Have you ever poured your heart into someone? Spent hours planning the perfect surprise, searching for the most meaningful gift, even spending more money than you could afford, only to realize a few months later she barely even remembers it? It stings, doesn't it? Because in that moment, you weren't just giving her an object. You were giving her a piece of yourself. You thought, this is the one. This is the gift that will prove my love, that will make me unforgettable in her eyes. You imagine her talking about it with her friends, treasuring it for years, holding it close to her heart. But then reality comes crashing down. She thanks you politely. She posts a picture maybe. She even smiles in the moment. But months or even weeks later, that memory dissolves into the background. The handbag is replaced. The necklace ends up in the back of a drawer. The shoes wear out. And you fade into just another chapter in her past. And that hurts, because you believed your effort equaled permanence. You thought the sacrifice would guarantee memory. But here's the brutal truth no one dares to tell you. Women don't remember what you gave them, but they never forget how you made them feel. Let that sink in. It's not the object. It's not the price tag. It's not even the grand effort to impress. What lingers, what burns itself into her memory, is the invisible emotion you created in that moment. That's why some men fade quickly, while others remain etched in her heart long after the relationship ends. Think about it. A gift is duplicable. Another man can buy her the same perfume, the same dress, the same phone. But no man can duplicate the feeling you gave her in that moment. The butterflies in her stomach, when you looked at her like no one else existed. The safety in her heart when you wrapped her in your arms. The laughter that dissolved her stress in seconds. That feeling, that's irreplaceable. That's unforgettable. Now, let me flip the question on you. How many times have you heard a woman say, "I'll never forget that purse he bought me"? Almost never. But how many times have you heard a woman say, "I'll never forget the way he looked at me"? Or, "I'll never forget how he showed up when I needed someone most"? That's the difference. That's the truth most men miss. And if you're sitting there right now, asking yourself, wait, if gifts and money aren't what make me unforgettable, then what is? Then stay exactly where you are. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the psychology behind memory, the reality of human connection, and the reason why some men leave footprints on a woman's soul, while others leave nothing at all. This isn't about playing games. It's not about manipulation or tricks. It's about understanding what really matters, where a heart will cling to when everything else fades. And once you get this, once you truly understand it, you'll stop wasting your energy on the wrong things. You'll stop burning yourself out trying to buy her love. And you'll start focusing on the only thing that actually makes you unforgettable, the way you make her feel. So if you ever wonder why she forgot the sacrifices, the long nights, the gift you gave, but she never forgot that one night, that one smile, that one feeling, you're about to find out why. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever felt invisible in love? You gave your best, your time, your energy, your effort, sometimes even sacrificing opportunities for yourself. Yet it wasn't enough. One day she drifted away, and you were left with that haunting question. Didn't she notice everything I did? Didn't she see how much I gave? That question is painful because it touches a deep human need, the need to be remembered. The fear of being forgettable is something we all share. We don't just want to love. We want our love to matter. But here's where so many men misunderstand women. See, men are trained to measure love in actions and sacrifices. We believe, if I solve her problems, if I buy her gifts, if I show up when she calls, then she'll know I love her. And for us, it feels logical. More effort equals more proof equals more permanence. But women don't store love in logic. They don't record it as a ledger of what you gave. Women remember differently. Their memory is emotional, not transactional. It's like her heart is a camera, but that camera doesn't capture every detail. It doesn't freeze the brand of the bag or the cost of the dinner. It freezes how she felt in the moment. Did she feel safe? Did she feel seen? Did she feel cherished? If yes, that memory locks in permanently. If not, the moment disappears like it never happened. Think back to your own childhood. Do you remember every single toy your parents gave you? No, What you remember are the moments tied to feelings. The day your father played soccer with you in the rain, or the night your mom tucked you in when you were terrified of the dark. You don't remember the object. You remember the feeling. And women in relationships experience this even more intensely. Here's why this matters. Most men spend their entire relationships giving the wrong currency. They think buying more, giving more, proving more is the key. But because they don't create emotional anchors, they're forgotten. Meanwhile, another man with fewer gifts, less money, less proof, leaves a lasting mark because he gave her feeling that no one else did. And this explains why so many men feel frustrated in love. You hear guys say, "After everything I did, how could she just forget me like that?" But she didn't forget everything. She forgot the objects. She forgot the actions that weren't tied to emotion. What she remembered, if anything, was the feeling you gave her. This is why the problem is so important. Because once you see this truth, you realize the playing field is different than you thought. You don't have to compete with another man's wallet. You don't have to chase her approval by exhausting yourself. You don't have to outgive or out-sacrifice. You just have to create something deeper, moments that touch her heart in a way nobody else dares to. Imagine the relief when you finally stop asking, "What should I buy her?" and instead start asking, "What can I make her feel?" That's when everything changes. That's when you stop being invisible and start being unforgettable. And that's why this issue matters more than you think. Because at its core, it's not about women. It's about you, about how you show up in love, about whether you'll be remembered as just another guy who tried, or as the man who changed how she felt about life itself. Most men don't fail in love because they don't try. They fail because they try in the wrong way. They believe they're doing everything right, giving, providing, proving themselves, yet they end up forgotten. Let's break down the most common mistakes. If you've ever wondered why your efforts didn't stick in her memory, chances are one of these traps is the reason. Mistake number 1, believing gifts equal love. We've all been there. You think, if I buy her flowers, if I get her that perfume, if I save up for that necklace, she'll finally see how much she means to me. And sure, she might smile in the moment, but a year later, the flowers are gone, the perfume is empty, the necklace is tangled in a drawer, the objects fade. What doesn't fade is how you made her feel in a moment. The mistake isn't giving. It's assuming the gift itself guarantees memory. Mistake number 2, flooding her with attention but no depth. Some men think consistency is everything. Morning texts, goodnight texts, reminders every hour. But consistency without emotion becomes noise. 1,000 good morning messages blend together until she can't recall a single one. But one heartfelt message, written when she truly needed it, can stay in her memory for years. The mistake is equating quantity with impact. Mistake number 3, trying to impress with money or status. This is a flex culture. Men show off cars, watches, vacations, hoping to spark admiration. And maybe they do, briefly, but admiration is a memory. Years later, she won't say, "I missed the guy with the Mercedes." She'll say, "I missed the guy who made me feel safe when I was falling apart." The mistake is mistaking impression for connection. Mistake number 4, being physically present but emotionally absent. Picture this. You take her to dinner, but your phone keeps buzzing. You nod while she talks, but your mind is elsewhere. You gave her your time, but not your presence. To you, it feels like you showed up. To her, it feels like you weren't really there. And what sticks in her memory? Not the dinner, but the emptiness she felt across the table. The mistake is confusing physical presence with emotional presence. Mistake number 5, overgiving out of fear. This one is subtle. You buy and do things not because you truly want to, but because you're afraid she'll leave. That fear seeps into every gesture. Instead of making her feel loved, it makes her feel pressured. Instead of remembering warmth, she remembers heaviness. Women can sense the difference. The mistake is giving from insecurity instead of authenticity. Mistake number 6, repeating patterns instead of creating moments. Some men think being consistent means doing the same thing over and over. Flowers on birthdays, dinner on anniversaries, chocolate on Valentine's. Predictable. Safe, but predictable moments rarely become unforgettable. What does? The surprise, the break from the pattern, the night you dance in the kitchen instead of booking a restaurant, the moment you did something completely unexpected that made her feel alive. The mistake is confusing routine with romance. Do you see the pattern? Every mistake comes down to misunderstanding what women truly remember. Men focus on objects, on repetition, on performance. Women remember feelings, presence, vulnerability. And here's the hopeful part. If you recognize yourself in any of these mistakes, you're not doomed. Almost every man has walked this road. The difference between those who remain forgettable and those who become unforgettable is awareness. Once you see the traps, you can stop stepping into them. Because in the end, women don't want more things. They want more moments, more stories, more feelings that last long after the flowers wilt and the gifts disappear. That's the shift, from giving what's visible to creating what's unforgettable. So if gifts fade, if money doesn't buy memory, if status doesn't make you unforgettable, then what does? Here's the secret most men never learn. Women don't remember what you gave them. They remember how you made them feel. It sounds simple, but it's the turning point. Once you really understand this, you'll stop wasting time on the wrong things and start investing in the only currency that truly lasts: emotion. Let me show you how. Step 1. Give her moments, not objects. Objects fade, but moments live forever. Don't just hand her a necklace in a box. Turn it into a memory. Take her to the place where you first met. Tell her what that moment meant to you. Then give her the necklace as a symbol. Years later, she may lose the jewelry, but she'll never forget the story tied to it. The moment becomes an anchor, and the anchor keeps you alive in her memory. Step 2. Speak to her emotions, not her logic. Men often explain, I bought this because it's expensive, because it's practical, because you deserve it. But explanations fade. Emotion lingers. Instead say, I wanted you to feel how deeply you matter to me. Or, I hope this reminds you that even on hard days, you're loved. She won't remember the brand, but she'll never forget the way those words made her heart feel. Step 3. Stop performing. Start being present. Men try to impress, showing strength, showing control, trying to be perfect. But what women never forget is the man who was fully there. When she spoke, he listened, not with distracted nods, but with his full presence. When she felt small, he made her feel seen. When she doubted herself, he reminded her of her worth without needing to brag about his. Presence is rarer than perfection, and because it's rare, it's unforgettable. Step 4. Surprise her with vulnerability. Here's something most men fear, letting their guard down. But vulnerability is what turns a nice evening into an unforgettable one. Share a childhood story. Admit a fear. Reveal a dream you've never told anyone. Every man can buy her flowers. Few men can hand her their truth. That moment of honesty, the moment you showed her your soul, that's what will replay in her memory for years. Step 5. Create emotional anchors. Think of tiny rituals that connect to deep feelings. Maybe you always kiss her forehead before saying goodbye. Maybe you whisper the same phrase every time you hug. Maybe you squeeze her hand before crossing the street. Small? Yes. Forgettable? Never. These repeated anchors carve grooves into her memory. Long after you're gone, she may not remember every date or every gift, but she'll never forget the ritual that made her feel special every time. Step 6. Dare to give her what others can't. Most men stick to safe gestures. Roses on Valentine's, gifts on birthdays, chocolates after fights. Safe is nice, but safe is forgettable. Unforgettable men go deeper. They give her courage when she's afraid, laughter when she's broken, honesty when she least expects it. They create emotions other men are too afraid to touch. Ask yourself, what can I make her feel that no one else has the courage to? That's how you stand apart. Here's the beauty. None of this requires money, status, or perfection. It doesn't matter if you're not the richest, tallest, or smoothest man in the room. What matters is awareness. Awareness that her memory doesn't keep track of the price tags. It keeps track of the feelings. So while every other man is busy trying to buy her attention, you'll be doing something different. You'll be creating emotions she can never replace. And years from now, when the gifts are gone, when the objects have faded, she won't remember the handbag or the shoes. She'll remember the man who gave her something far rarer, a feeling she'll never forget. Stories have a way of cutting deeper than logic. So let me paint you a picture. There was a man named Daniel, not a movie star, not a millionaire, just an ordinary guy who worked hard and wanted to show his girlfriend how much he loved her. For weeks, Daniel skipped lunches at work, turned down nights out with his friends, and quietly saved every extra dollar. Why? Because her birthday was coming up, and he wanted to buy her something unforgettable, a delicate gold necklace that cost more than he could comfortably afford. On the night of her birthday, he was nervous but excited. He handed her the box, imagining how her eyes would light up, how she would hold the necklace to her chest and say, "I'll remember this forever." And for a moment, it seemed like his dream came true. She gasped, she hugged him, she wore it proudly. Daniel felt proud, relieved, maybe even a little smug. He thought, yes, this is it. This will keep me alive in her memory. Fast forward 2 years. Life had other plans. They broke up. They went their separate ways. Then one rainy afternoon, Daniel ran into her by chance. They exchanged polite words, the kind of small talk exes do. And in that moment, Daniel noticed something that shattered him. She wasn't wearing the necklace. In fact, she didn't even mention it. For her, the gift that once seemed so grand was just another forgotten object, lost to time. But what she did mention was something entirely different. She looked at him and said, "Do you remember that night when my car broke down in a thunderstorm? You showed up completely soaked, holding that broken umbrella, laughing like a fool, and you said, 'I guess we're both stuck in the storm together.' I've never forgotten that." Think about that for a second. The necklace, the gift that cost him so much, faded from her memory, but the moment in the rain, messy and imperfect, lived on forever. Why? Because it wasn't about the object. It was about the emotion, the feeling of not being alone when she was scared, the feeling of being safe because he chose to stand with her in the storm. That was priceless. And here's the truth. We've all been Daniel. We've all thought the object was the key, that if we gave enough, spent enough, sacrificed enough, we'd lock ourselves into someone's memory. But the reality is humbling. What people actually hold on to isn't the gift. It's the feeling the gift carried or didn't carry. Ask yourself, what do you remember most about your own past relationships? Is it the exact gifts? Or is it the way she smiled at you across the room? The way she held your hand when you were falling apart? The way she made you feel alive, like you mattered? That's why Daniel's story matters. It's not really about him. It's about all of us. About every man who has believed the lie that money or gifts alone will make him unforgettable. About every man who has confused sacrifice with permanence. The storm story lasted because it was raw, emotional, human. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't polished. It was real. And that's what women never forget. So the question is, are you still trying to buy your way into her memory? Or are you willing to stand in the storm, vulnerable and real, and give her the one thing no one else can duplicate, a feeling she'll carry for life? Daniel's story is more than just a love lesson. It's a mirror reflecting one of the deepest truths about life itself. The fact that women don't remember objects but never forget feelings is not random. It's a universal principle, one that even ancient philosophers understood long before us. Take the Stoics, for example. They believed everything external, wealth, possessions, appearances, was temporary. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Translate this into love, and it becomes crystal clear. It's not the gift you give, but the feeling attached to that gift that lasts. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor philosopher, reminded himself daily that everything material fades. He wrote in his meditations, "The only wealth which you will keep forever is the wealth you have given to others." But he wasn't talking about money. He was talking about character, about kindness, about the way you touch another soul. Isn't that exactly what Daniel's story showed? The necklace disappeared, but the emotion of being cared for in the storm lived on. Science backs this up too. Neuroscientists have proven that our brains tie strong emotions to memory far more deeply than neutral events. That's why you don't remember what you ate for lunch last Tuesday, but you can vividly recall how you felt the day someone broke your heart or the moment someone believed in you when you doubted yourself. Memory is emotional. It's never about the object. It's about the impact. And this truth goes far beyond romance. It touches every human relationship you have. Your children won't remember every toy you bought them, but they'll never forget the way you held them when they were afraid of the dark. Your friends won't recall every time you paid for dinner, but they'll remember the night you sat with them in silence when they were grieving. Even strangers may forget your name, but remember the way your kindness made them feel seen. This is why Stoicism tells us not to waste our energy on what we can't control. You can't control if the necklace gets lost. You can't control if the flowers wilt. But you can control the presence you bring into a moment. You can control whether someone walks away from you feeling small or feeling alive. That's within your power. Here's the deeper challenge. Life is short. Tomorrow is not promised. So what will you spend your limited time creating? Piles of objects people forget, or moments and emotions that outlive you? Because at the end of your life, nobody will stand at your funeral and say, "He bought me an iPhone in 2016. They'll say, "He was there for me when no one else was. He made me feel safe. He made me feel valued. He made me believe in myself again." That's legacy. That's immortality. And this is where philosophy meets love. The Stoic man doesn't chase objects to prove his worth. He focuses on what he can control, his actions, his presence, his character. And because of that, he becomes unforgettable. Not just to women, but to everyone he meets. So the next time you're tempted to think, "I need to give her more stuff," pause. Ask yourself instead, what emotion can I give her that she'll carry long after the gift is gone? Because emotions are timeless. Objects fade, but feelings, they're the true footprints we leave on the souls of others. So let me leave you with one final question. Years from now, when she thinks back to you, what will she remember? Will she remember the shoes you bought, the flowers you sent, the dinners you paid for? Or will she remember the way you looked at her, like she was the only person in the room? The way you stood by her when her world was falling apart? The way you made her laugh in the middle of her darkest night? Because here's the reality. Objects vanish. The flowers wilt. The phone gets replaced. The jewelry gets lost. Even the car that once seemed so impressive eventually becomes old news. But the way you made her feel? That's the one thing time cannot erase. That's why some men disappear like smoke, while others live on forever in her heart. And that's the real choice you face. You can spend your life trying to impress with things, or you can choose to invest in what truly matters. Emotions, moments, presence, vulnerability, courage. These are the invisible gifts that never wear out, never break, never fade. So pause and ask yourself honestly, if today were the last day she saw you, what would be the emotion you leave behind? Would it be stress, pressure, disappointment? Or would it be warmth, joy, safety, and love? That's the real test of whether you'll be remembered or forgotten. And maybe right now you're realizing something important. That being unforgettable doesn't require money or perfection or constant sacrifice. It requires awareness. The awareness to stop focusing on what you give and start focusing on how you make her feel. Now I want to turn it over to you. Think back on your own life. What's the one moment someone gave you? Not an object, but a feeling that you'll never forget. Drop it in the comments below. Your story might be the one that inspires someone else who needs to hear it today. And if this message resonated with you, if it made you rethink the way you approach love and connection, then don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with a friend, a brother, or anyone who's been chasing the wrong things in love. Sometimes a single shift in perspective is enough to save a relationship or to change the way someone lives forever. And of course, if you want more real, raw, unfiltered truths like this, make sure to subscribe, because the next video might be the one that helps you not just in love, but in life. Remember this final line and carry it with you. Women won't remember what you gave them, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That's your power. That's your legacy. So go out there and don't just give things. Give moments. Give laughter. Give presence. Give her a feeling she will carry forever. Because long after the gifts are gone, long after the objects disappear, that's what will keep your name alive in her heart.